But the end of the video shows 5 to 6 men with guns showing up to where the shooter is now laying, which has led many pro-gun people like myself to take the stance that guns are a good thing and that they stop shootings. Though the sources that I am about to display tend to disagree on that topic, but they take very roundabout viewpoints that don't quite make sense. Starting with presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg said during an event in Alabama, and I quote, "It may be true that someone in the Congression had his own gun and killed the person who murdered 2 people, but it is the job of law enforcement to have guns and to decide when to shoot. You don't want the average citizen carrying a gun in a crowded place." Which makes perfect sense. I mean, if anyone that wasn't law enforcement, because reminder, Mr. Wilson was an ex-deputy, so he wasn't actually law enforcement. So if it was just law enforcement that was able to have guns in this scenario, the death toll would have been significantly higher than the 2 people. But I mean, that makes sense. I guess he would have, preferred that the gunman be able to shoot more innocent people, because no lowly civilian should be able to use deadly force against a mass shooter. That would be crazy. I mean, what's next? Are we gonna let people defend their homes? No. What we need is people open to being shot by criminals, with their only defense being thugs that the government hires to make sure that the government stays in power. No, that's definitely what we need. But I guess that would be what you would expect from a billionaire that pretends to be for the working class. Of course, the goal of gun control is to get the guns out of the hands of shooters like the shooter in this church shooting. It's irresponsible to think that you can have a world where bad people can't get guns, because people with bad intentions will always be able to get guns, no matter how illegal or unlawful it is. Obviously, if I could snap my fingers right now and guns would no longer exist, and the technology to make guns, basically, if I could snap my fingers and make it so guns can't exist and in the future couldn't exist, I would do that. But I don't have that opportunity. The only opportunity I have is to make sure that people with good intentions have guns. And that is what makes sense to me. But one person that would disagree with me and say that even people with good intentions should not have guns would be USA Today's Olivia Diaz, who wrote an article spinning the tragedy. The article titled, "Armed, Even in a Church, Texas Shooting is About a Lot More Than Jack Wilson's Heroism," explains that Jack Wilson, the man who shot the gunman, saving dozens of lives, is truly a hero, but only because he is, quote, "exactly the type of man you'd want with a firearm." The reasoning being that he's an ex-deputy, a gun range owner, and therefore he can be trusted with a gun. Right. Because training with firearms definitely means that you're morally not going to shoot people. That makes sense. If I'm really good with something, I'm not going to misuse it, right? That's totally justifiable. No, the article doesn't actually say why he is a hero for his actions in a way that differentiates him from the 6 other people who are quoted to be terrifying. The only reason that the article defends him in any way is because he's the one that got the shot off, and therefore if they attack him, they're going to get very, very bad publicity for it. Though, I would not doubt at all that that is their actual viewpoint. They're just trying to play a publicity game. You can't pick and choose who should be able to own guns based on their experience with guns. If I own a gun range, that doesn't mean I'm going to be any more responsible in a church with a gun than someone who just bought a Glock and have decided that they want to carry it with them everywhere that they go that they legally can. I don't have the moral high ground because I own a gun range and was an ex-deputy. If you're going to say that everyone else in the church is terrifying for having guns, then you have to say that Wilson is also terrifying.